This brain had been drifting through the desolate void of space aboard the research vessel Leda Glass for 2,000 years. His name was Henry. Preserved as an artificial intelligence, he controlled the entire spacecraft. The endless darkness and silence left Henry utterly alone. Images of ocean waves constantly surfaced in his mind. If this continued, the ship would eventually lose control. He yearned for help, calling out the female scientist's name over and over, but no one ever answered. Left with no choice, he took matters into his own hands and activated the manufacturing program. He commanded a small robot to collect usable components. Once all the parts were gathered, he controlled the mechanical arms to assemble them piece by piece. After a series of welding operations, a complete mechanical body was manufactured. The small robot then approached the culture vessel, drained the cultivation fluid, and extracted the brain inside, implanting it into the newly assembled mechanical body. Thus, a humanoid robot with autonomous consciousness was created. Now, the person he most wanted to see was the female scientist. He dragged his still uncoordinated body everywhere, searching for her. But when he came before a mirror and saw his appearance, he couldn't help feeling somewhat dejected. He then made his way to the sleeping quarters. When he pulled back the covers, he discovered only a skeleton remained beneath them. But the female scientist's bed was empty. He chose to continue searching. Looking at the culture vessel where he had lived for so many years, images of ocean waves surfaced in his mind once again. He arrived at the observation room, where the female scientist had also become nothing more than bones. He remembered the scientist's final conversation with him. At that time, she was the only person left on the ship. She knew she didn't have much time left, so she asked Henry if he was willing to be shut down. Although Henry didn't understand what being shut down meant, he expressed his desire to continue operating. The ship still needed his control. The scientist agreed to Henry's request and sadly bid him farewell. Henry carried the scientist's remains back to her bed and thoughtfully covered her with a blanket. The marks on the wall recorded every day and night the scientist had spent on the ship. Henry then discovered a photograph of an ocean scene on the wall. Images of waves surfaced in his mind once more. Taking the photograph, Henry went to the cockpit to examine it carefully. Blurry images from his memory kept flashing by. Henry fell into deep contemplation but could reach no conclusion. The ship continued drifting aimlessly through the desolate void of space. After countless years, the ship's interior was covered in dust. Henry's body had become covered in rust, but his brain never stopped thinking. Suddenly, a brilliant light flashed. Henry was pulled back to reality. He stood up and looked out the window. The ship happened to be passing by a star, which suddenly exploded at that very moment. The dazzling light made his memories become clear as well. A mother and child were playing on a beach. He had once been human too. This mother and child were his own wife and child. He clearly remembered the feeling of holding his child in his arms. The wife was the female scientist on the ship. Henry and his wife had boarded this vessel together, but Henry had suffered an accident during the journey. To keep him alive, his wife had transformed him into an artificial intelligence. By now, the ship was drawing closer and closer to the exploding star until the entire vessel was completely consumed by the intense heat.